Most Christmas songs are old, like really old.
Merry Christmas to you.
The bulk of the seasonal classics date back to the 60s or earlier, some going as far back as the 16th century. But there's one striking exception to this rule.
I don't want a lot for Christmas.
That anthem is, of course, Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You, the most successful holiday song of the last 50 years. And it's only getting more popular. On Christmas Eve 2018, it broke Spotify's single-day streaming record. Stars just as big as Mariah put out their own holiday songs every year, but few have managed to become staples like this one. What makes All I Want for Christmas the only modern holiday classic? The secret? It doesn't sound like it belongs to a single era. Instead, it embraces musical traditions that range from the 19th century Nutcracker to 60s rock and roll. The opening to All I Want for Christmas is, by now, iconic. You know exactly what song you're listening to as soon as you hear those 13 opening chimes. That tinkling percussion comes from the celesta, an instrument that gets its name from its magical or celestial sound. It's the same instrument you hear at the beginning of a much older Christmas melody, penned by one of the most famous Russian composers of all time. Tchaikovsky's Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy is maybe the most iconic musical number from the Nutcracker ballet. Tchaikovsky chose the celesta for its glittering, crystal-like sound, which stirs up childlike images of sugar and snowflakes. While the instrument was pretty unknown at the time of the first Nutcracker, it soon became a staple of early 20th century Christmas music, and by now has come to signify all those delightful things we associate with the holidays. Mariah, who's had ballerinas open her shows to the Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy, was probably well aware of this tradition when she sat down to write All I Want for Christmas. In fact, the song's celesta intro even echoes the structure of the original Nutcracker piece. Back in 1892, Tchaikovsky made the unconventional choice to have this delicate little instrument open the dance alone, with the rest of the orchestra gradually coming in to join it, creating a sense of growing excitement, like the feeling of counting down the days until Christmas morning. All I Want for Christmas achieves the same effect with its slowly building intro, which layers new musical elements on top of the celesta one by one. First come in the bed of keyboards, and dramatic church bells, then driving sleigh bells, and rock and roll piano. When the full instrumentation finally comes in, it's a big, opulent symphony of sounds. Mariah's co-writer, Walter Afanasieff, said the song's maximalist production was inspired by one influential figure from the 60s. Phil Spector was an innovating producer who developed this so-called wall of sound, a recording and mixing technique that turned pop and rock songs into huge orchestral productions. He'd get big ensembles together in the studio and have several musicians play similar versions of the same instrument, tripling the parts to create a lush and dense sound. All I Want for Christmas was inspired by Spector's 1963 landmark LP, A Christmas Gift for You from Phil Spector, which gave the wall of sound treatment to a bunch of Yuletide standards. It transformed old seasonal classics by giving them big, Spectorized beats, infusing songs like Sleigh Ride and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer with the high of rock and roll. For this reason, some critics have called A Christmas Gift the best holiday album of all time. It makes sense then that Mariah would look to the project for inspiration when it came her turn to breathe new life into the holiday canon. Some have pointed out the similarity between All I Want for Christmas and an original single off Spector's album, Christmas Baby Please Come Home. The song was first performed by Darlene Love and became a classic that's since been covered by rockers like U2 and Bruce Springsteen. And even by Mariah herself. It often sounds like there's a full symphony playing in All I Want for Christmas, but the instruments weren't actually recorded live in true Phil Spector style. Afanasieff just programmed them at his computer, but the same wall of sound principles are at play. We've got lush keyboards, 2 sets of swelling violin strings, one slightly louder than the other, and at least 9 different types of percussion. And we can't forget the vocal arrangement.
Baby, all I want for Christmas is you.
Mariah wouldn't want us to. She's attributed her song's enduring success to its Motown-style backup vocals.
And
Don't care about the present underneath the Christmas tree.
Those catchy backing harmonies are layered on especially heavily in the tag
All I want for Christmas is you.
and the bridge.
Santa, won't you please, I wanna really know, won't you please come, baby, to me.
And they add a 60s flavor to the song that help it transcend the 90s R&B era when it was made. These stacked harmonies harken back to 60s girl groups like the Ronettes, the rock and roll trio that collaborated closely with Phil Spector.
I'm on this lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you.
Mariah paid homage to the Ronettes in the second music video for All I Want, with a retro outfit and a host of go-go dancers. Okay, but what about the many years in between Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker and Phil Spector's Christmas Gift? Mariah takes plenty of inspiration from that period too. For one, let's take a closer look at the song's structure. Notice it doesn't have a multi-line chorus like most contemporary pop songs. Instead, between the intro and outro, there are 3 A verses, which have the same melody and each end in the tagline, All I Want for Christmas is You. The A verses are contrasted by a bridge, or B verse, which has a different melody. This AABA form dominated popular music in the 40s and 50s, the decades that produced many of the Christmas classics now included in the Great American Songbook.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Lights are turned down low. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
Beginning in the 60s, though, the classic AABA form began to decline in popularity. Instead, pop songs were increasingly written in verse-chorus form. This structure is exactly what it sounds like: verse, chorus, and so on. For an example, listen to Ariana Grande's 2014 single, Santa Tell Me.
Santa, tell me if you're really there. Feeling Christmas all around. Santa, tell me if you're really there. I've been down this road before.
The structure of All I Want for Christmas doesn't look much like this song, or for that matter, any other typical modern pop hit. It more closely resembles the 40s and 50s songs that fill up the permanent Christmas canon. Another nostalgic element of the song is its surprisingly rich harmonic palette. Most contemporary pop and rock songs will have only 3 or 4 chords, each of which usually falls into one of 2 categories, major or minor. But mainstream music wasn't always limited to just these 2 flavors. As musicologist Adam Ragusa pointed out, popular music pre-rock and roll was strongly influenced by all the colorful harmony of jazz. As a result, festive tunes written in the 40s, like the Christmas song or Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, are full of diminished chords and chromatic notes. According to Mariah's writing partner, Walter Afanasieff, they started out with a simpler chord sequence, but then tried to spice it up with, quote, some special chords that you don't really hear a lot. Ragusa was able to count at least 13 different chords at work in the song. Plus, there are diminished and half-diminished chords, chromatic notes, and jazz-like progressions. With a harmony this rich, the song earned its place in the Christmas canon. What are the holidays if not nostalgic? it makes sense that the most loved festive songs usually sound kind of old. All I Want for Christmas pulls from a diverse set of holiday musical traditions, so much that you can't really pinpoint it in any specific era. And that's exactly the type of song that people turn to year after year.